So this morning, our Way to a Wonderful Life message is titled, Behold the Kingdom. Behold the Kingdom. And we take these words from the Mastermind Jesus. Neither shall they say, Lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Neither shall they say, Lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. And let's look at these words from Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great Emerson. What lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you. So Emerson is just restating that profound truth given to us by the Mastermind Jesus, and so we understand and we realize that Jesus is telling us that we're of the nature of God, and as we are of the nature of God, then the intelligence, the power, and the Spirit of God is within us, and it's up to us to realize and determine and choose what our kingdom of God is bringing forth into our experience. Behold the kingdom. What is it that we believe about ourselves? What is it that we believe about our life experience? What do we believe about our place in the universe? And what do we believe about the nature of us? Do we just see ourselves as human beings with weaknesses and emotions that are limited, or do we see ourselves as an expression, the offspring of our Creator, expressing power and intelligence, and using our mind to choose and realize the good things in life, the joyful things in life, the prosperous things in life, the wonderful things in life? You know, we read the word Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God in us, God in you, God in me, God in everyone. And just as Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. So how are we using the power, the intelligence, and the Spirit of God that's within us will determine what we're going to realize in our lives. Let's look at these words from Joel Goldsmith from his book, The Art of Meditation, which is one of the greatest books he's written. He wrote, only in the degree that we understand the nature of God can we understand the nature of individual beings. In thinking of ourselves as well as of others, we must catch some glimpse inwardly of the nature and the activity of God, the creative principle which brought us forth into expression. God has incarnated itself as the very mind, soul, substance, and life of our being, even in the substance of our body. The Word has become flesh as individual you and me. That's from Joel Goldsmith, the great American healer and teacher and lecturer. He didn't write the book. I shouldn't say he wrote the book. The books were written from his lectures and from his talks and from his classes. So we take those words into our mind and we start realizing how much have we allowed ourselves to just fall back on our humanness rather than to depend on the nature of God within us. So when I read the words attributed to the great Emerson, the Mastermind Jesus, and the mystical Joel Goldsmith, I am inspired and motivated to give even more of my time and energy to beholding God, beholding the kingdom of God within me. That is the Spirit, the power, and the intelligence that not only is omnipresent in the world, but that part of it that is within me and you and everyone. So as we look out into the world and consciously seek to realize the infinite creativity and intelligence that is both visible and beyond our physical vision, we cannot help but feel the presence within our own heart, our own mind, and our own soul. Start looking with wonder at the world. So looking with wonder at yourself. Realize that the human mind could never have created all that we see, all that we are about, all that we are. So look in the mirror and realize that your creation is beyond anything that the human mind could conceive, and to realize that there must be a greater intelligence, which we call God for lack of a better word, a greater power and a greater spirit, not only in you, but in everything in the world around us. So after centuries of being told that we are only human and that God is out there somewhere beyond the clouds, We must have the most tremendous respect for those who have broken away from that world belief and told us that there is more to God than superstition and tradition has given us. There are very few people in the world who are fully conscious that they are spirit having a human experience. And although many know this intellectually, our being conscious of it to any great degree is continually challenged by the experiences that we go through and the collective consciousness that is always pressing against our mind. That's why Jesus called us to be in the world but not of the world. And I go over that a lot in this teaching, in these messages, that we're to be in the world but not of the world. To be in the world. To be in the world. Why do we want to be in the world? Because God has placed us here for a reason, for a purpose. God has put us here so that we can realize our divinity in a greater way, or to realize the nature of God within us in a greater way. So much of what must be accepted by us along with the truth that we are the living Spirit of God in flesh is difficult for so many of us to accept and to realize for ourselves. In order to establish this truth at the deeper level of our consciousness, the soul level, we must also arrive at the realization that our experiences are like a mirror. They're like a mirror, reflecting back to us that which we believe and have accepted as truth for us and for others. So we look out into the world, whatever it is that we fastened our attention on, whatever it is that our attention is fastened on, I should say, and whatever judgment we have of whatever it is that catches our attention, that's a reflection of who we are. Now, we read these words, and for the most part, we accept them as the truth. After all, doesn't gravity reflect back to us our awareness of its nature and our willingness to align ourselves with the changeless, immutable ability of its laws? After all, gravity doesn't change for us. We must align ourselves with the nature of gravity. Does this mean that we are responsible for everything that happens in our experience? Of course not, as we can't be responsible for something that we are not conscious of. But we can begin to become more conscious and more aware of the impact and the consequences of our beliefs, our thoughts, and the images in our mind that we dwell on. And I know that this appears to be simplistic, and I assure you that it is. It's simple, but we must be conscious. We must not lose sight of it. The intelligence, the spirit that created us and lives in us did not create obstacles to our happiness and joy and peace, yet we have allowed ourselves to be mesmerized into believing that that which is simple is somehow complex. That which is simple is somehow complex. Think about those words of Jesus. Ask and you shall receive. Ask and you shall receive. Now, if the human mind didn't make that so complex and could truly, truly embody the simplicity of it, so many people would have all kinds of wonderful experiences in their lives. Ask and you shall receive. This is one of the most wonderful statements ever uttered. It implies that there is a power which can and will honor our requests. And at the same time, Jesus said that we should not ask amiss. However, these two sayings of Jesus are not contradictory. They merely mean that we should ask in the nature of the divine life and the nature of God, which is love and truth and power and wisdom and beauty and goodness and peace and universality. In other words, whatever it is that we seek to have for ourselves, we must say within ourselves in all honesty and with all genuineness, in the most authentic way possible for us, that we desire the same for anyone else who wants that same thing. So anything we ask in the nature of God, we have a right to expect to receive. But it is only as we let go of the lesser that we can take hold of the greater. Only as we drop confusion that we can entertain peace. Only as we transcend doubt and fear that we can be lifted up to the hilltops of the inner life. And asking, we must identify ourselves with the greatness of the Spirit. This is the only way we can breathe this almighty power. We must permit our consciousness through faith to rise to a greater and broader realization of that divine presence which is always delivering itself to us. believing that the divine mind, the Spirit, is ever present, that divine intelligence is ever available, and open our consciousness to its guidance and to its flow, we must keep our mind steadfast and loyal to the thought that we are governed by this divine intelligence and feel that we are impelled to make right decisions, that we are compelled to act upon these decisions intelligently, and to know that the power that is with us cannot desert us. These are words from the American mystic Ernest Holmes from this thing called you. This thing called you. So we go back and we look at those words of the mastermind Jesus and the great Ralph Waldo Emerson. Neither shall they say, lo here or lo there, or behold, the kingdom of God is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. So what does that mean to each and every one of us? It's telling us, don't look outside of you for your good. Build within your own consciousness. That's what Jesus was teaching the people throughout his ministry, and it wasn't a very long ministry, and it wasn't a very complex ministry. He was telling us to look to the God within us, the kingdom of God within. Don't look out here. The kingdom of God is within you, not lo here or lo there. Look within yourself and develop within your own consciousness a peace and a faith and a trust in God, a love for God that knows and believes and accepts that God is always bringing forth to our awareness the right ideas, the right thoughts, the right decisions, the right guidance, the right direction for us to realize the wonderful life, the glorious life, and the beautiful life. It's up to us to understand it. It's up to us to know it. The great Ralph Waldo Emerson says, what lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you, because just as Jesus said, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of intelligence, the kingdom of power, the kingdom of the Spirit, life and love and beauty and wholeness and truth and love and peace is within you. And the wonderful American mystic healer, teacher, Joel Goldsmith tells us only in the degree that we understand the nature of God can we understand the nature of individual being. In other words, only as we understand the nature of God can we truly understand the true nature of ourselves, the true nature of ourselves. In thinking of ourselves as well as of others, we must catch some glimpse inwardly, that means within our mind, within our heart, within our soul, of the nature and activity of God, the creative principle which brought us forth into expression. God has incarnated itself as the very mind, soul, substance, and life of our being, even the substance of our body. The Word has become flesh as individual you and me. And even the primitive people of ancient times had that glimpse of the true reality of our beingness, our life. When we go back all the way to the book of Genesis and we read that we are created in the image and the likeness of God, and that God has given us dominion and authority over those things that concern us. And that dominion and authority is our ability to choose. We can choose the good and have good consequences and good results, or we can choose that which brings forth within our mind an uncertainty and a doubt and a worry and a fear, and we will get all the things that go with that level of that state of confusion in our consciousness. It's up to us. The time is right for each of us to look forward to and expect to realize a greater and more fulfilling life experience. It has been said that nothing is impossible for those who believe. Nothing, no thing is impossible for those who believe. And this is the truth for each and every one of us, but for most of us, we must elevate our thoughts and ideas about what we believe to be true for us in order to bring forth that spark of the divine within us that responds to us. So it is right and intelligent to believe that the kingdom of God is within us, but it is even more tremendously satisfying to behold the kingdom, and to let our faith bring forth the visible works or results that give us the validation that we can depend on our right of consciousness to give us the good desires of our heart, So we must learn to behold the kingdom, to behold that which is within us, so that we can understand and we can know the simplicity of the Mastermind Jesus' teachings, and how those teachings are as simple as 2 times 2 equals 4. 2 times 2 equals 4. I believe in my prayer and the answer to it. I believe that as I ask, I shall receive. 2 times 2 equals 4. It's that simple. And this is one of the most wonderful statements Ernest Holmes tells us, the American mystic Ernest Holmes tells us, ever uttered. It implies that there is a power which can and will honor us, honor our requests, honor our good desires, honor those things that we hold in our heart that we believe to be for us. They will come to us. However, these sayings of Jesus are not contradictory when he says that we must not ask amiss, because they merely mean that we should ask in the nature of God, which is always love and truth and beauty and power and wisdom, goodness and peace, never in a selfish way, never thinking that somehow that which God will give us will make us better than someone or superior to someone, or that we want it so we can keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. I don't know how many of you remember that old expression. I think that expression goes back to the 50s and the 60s. Keeping up with the Joneses, which means that the neighbors got a brand new car. You had to get a new car to keep up with them. They got new carpet in their house. You had to run out and get new carpet in your house to keep up with them. Otherwise, people felt like they were inferior, or that somehow they were lacking in the good that they desired. We must realize that God is universal good, universal givingness, universal livingness. But the same God that lives in you and me lives in every living thing on the planet. It lives in the sun and the moon and the stars. It lives in the grass and the trees. It lives in the rabbits and the squirrels. It lives in you and me. It lives in every living thing, because there's only one life. That life is God. That life is expressing through every living thing. And this life is so infinite in its ability and capacity to express itself, infinitely individualized as life forms, that our human mind could never conceive all of it. Our human mind could never conceive all of it. Just as astronomers and scientists are finding new planets in the universe that we never knew about before. Just as people used to believe that the earth was flat because they thought the earth ended where they could no longer see. That as far as they could see, that's as far as they thought the earth could be. They never realized in their mind in that time how infinite the life and the creation of God is. That our Creator has created something so beyond anything that we can imagine and conceive, and our Creator has made it good and very good, and it's up to us to recognize that and identify with that good, even though we may see in the world all manner of things that call us to believe otherwise. All manner of things that cause us to believe otherwise. So let's go back to those words of the American mystic Ernest Holmes. It says, anything we ask in the nature of God, we have a right to expect to receive. But it is only as we let go of the lesser that we can take hold of the greater. Only as we drop confusion that we can entertain peace. Only as we transcend doubt and fear that we can be lifted up to the hilltops of the inner life and elevate our consciousness. In asking, we must identify ourselves with the greatness of the Spirit, the greatness of the divine Spirit of God within us. Behold the kingdom. Behold the kingdom within you. So this is the only way we can breathe this almighty power. We must permit our consciousness through faith to rise to a greater and broader realization of that divine presence which is always delivering itself to us, believing that the Spirit is ever present, that intelligence is ever available, and open our consciousness to its guidance, knowing that we're opening our consciousness to God, to the good. We must keep our minds steadfast and loyal to the thought that we are governed by this divine intelligence, and feel that we are impelled to make right decisions, that we are compelled to act upon these decisions intelligently, and know that the power that is with us cannot depart us or desert us. That's taken from Ernest Holmes' book, This Thing Called Life, or This Thing Called You, slightly modified. So we must know that the time is right for us to look forward to and expect to realize a greater and more fulfilling life experience. But we must become aware of that greater and more fulfilling life experience within us. We must behold the kingdom, because neither shall they say, Jesus said, lo here or lo there, or behold, the kingdom of God is within you. So that kingdom of God within us is what we believe. So we must ask ourselves, what do we believe? Why do we believe it? And most importantly, what are the consequences of the things that we believe? Do they align with the nature of God, which is the nature of good for all people? The Mastermind Jesus informed us that our faith can make us whole, but do we believe this? Do we believe that the wholeness, our faith can make us whole when we're sick? Do we believe that our faith can make us whole when we're in debt, when we're struggling financially, when we're lonely and dissatisfied with life? Your faith can make you whole, but do we believe it? Or are we waiting for someone else, perhaps a God or Jesus or Buddha or Krishna or some spiritual guru to make us whole? No one can answer these questions for us, for no one else can think for us or believe for us that which we do not accept as true for us. We must hold our ideas and beliefs in place in our consciousness and behold this kingdom of God within us, behold this intelligence, this power and this spirit as part of God incarnated within our very own consciousness, and let it move through our mind, our heart, and our soul as the truth for us, and affirm that it's so, and feel the conviction of our faith as we move forward into this wonderful thing called life, experiencing more and more of the good, more and more of the presence of God as we recognize and identify with the kingdom of God within us. And so it is.